Big Green Egg chef of note also. And that's Chase Goodbread of NFL.com, Crimson Cover Television, and the Talkin Tide podcast, which Chase and I dropped our LSU preview pod, Talkin Tide, last night. So with that, we bring Chase on. Chase, I was talking about it. I did some steaks last night on my grill, and we're separated only by a cul-de-sac almost in our neighborhood. And I've gotten to where I feel a little inadequate because I don't have the NASA setup, that you do on your grill a couple of streets over. So I did my best, just with the grill grate and the meat. I'm not sure if it came out all that great, but I did the best I could, Chase.
Simple's the best way to go sometimes. So, sometimes I feel like I'm over-accessorized and have bitten off more than I can chew. So you're fine doing what you're doing.
Goodbread is like the mad scientist in the Back to the Future movies over there, is what he is. Yeah, when it comes to that.
You're working on a little brisket today, as a matter of fact.
Oh. Yeah, I don't ever get any of that sent over, though, It's always
I got to perfect it first,
Yeah. Brisket can be temperamental, as they say. It can be temperamental. Brisket isn't Boston butt now. Boston butt, my Pomeranian can cook a Boston butt. But brisket takes a little bit of coaching, doesn't it?
And I'll tell you what I'm doing, too. I'm buying the cheapest ones I can find, so if I mess them up, it doesn't kill me in the wallet. Because if you get a big one, those are going to run $75, and I don't want to make a $75 mistake on the grill. So I'm finding these little bitty ones that I can kind of learn on first,
Yeah, although Goodbread is so tight, even when he gets it down, he'll still probably go for the pound and a half brisket. Pretty tight, Chase Goodbread. Speaking of tight, we're expecting a tight one Saturday afternoon at Bryant-Denny Stadium, Chase. And really what I wanted to talk to you about with your perspective there, working with NFL.com and kind of viewing these guys as next level prospects. First, tell us about what you anticipate from an NFL club presence perspective at Saturday's game in that press box and just in Tuscaloosa in general. This is next level for NFL teams wanting to put their own eyes on these guys, isn't it?
It's going to be a huge contingent of scouts, I would imagine. And also beyond that, you're going to see more higher-level scouts. In other words, GMs, directors of college scouting, guys whose names you might recognize a little more as opposed to the area scouts who tend to be a little bit more anonymous. But at a big college football game, a big one now, like a matchup of top 10 teams, it's not uncommon to get maybe half the league repped at a particular game, 16 teams in that neighborhood. For this one versus two, and the quarterbacks you've got going and some of the other skill talent that's going to be on the field, I won't be surprised if it's 20 or north of that.
Yeah. The people that you'll see when the NFL draft next spring commences, in those war rooms, right? These are the type of people we're going to see Saturday afternoon at Bryant-Denny.
Yeah, no doubt. There's a lot to be gleaned, and really there's going to be way too much talent on the field for two eyes to keep up with as an NFL scout. So I'm sure you'll have multiple scouts from the same team who are going to be there with a plan. One guy's watching this, or the other guy's watching that kind of thing.
Now, they don't have NFL scouts and front office types. They don't have on the field access. That's where I think I would want to be, Chase. If I was going to evaluate a guy, I can get the tape from up top. I can get the all 22. I'd like to be down there where I can get a feel for a guy's sort of makeup, right? His mindset, how he sort of handles things throughout the course of a game.
Well, they definitely like to get down there pregame on the field level.
Yeah.
Okay. They'll do that whenever and wherever they can. But you're right, the vantage point down there is certainly better in play for any of those guys. But and sometimes you see guys choose to sit in the stands as opposed to the press box. Matter of fact, as I understand it, that's fairly common at LSU, for instance.
Really? Huh. Well, they do sell beer now at LSU, so maybe the boys, like to get a quick refresh from that that vantage point, Chase. Let's talk about some positions of particular emphasis in this game for Saturday and how some of those guys that will be draft eligible for 2020 might project as NFL picks as early as next spring. And, you look at it from the LSU perspective. You're talking about Christian Fulton, I guess, at corner primarily, Grant Delpit, obviously, at safety for Alabama. Again, these are draft-eligible guys. Not talking about Derek Stingley just yet, not talking about Patrick Surtain. We know they're coming. But from the Alabama perspective, Trayvon Diggs, Xavier McKinney at safety, how would you sort of rank those four guys going into this game Saturday from a draft-eligible perspective?
I think if we're talking draft eligible guys and working the juniors in there together with the seniors, kind of lumping them together, I think you got to put Tagovailoa at the top of the list. I think Jerry Jeudy's probably the most highly regarded receiver, although there are some tremendous receivers in this game. Quite a few receivers on both sides in this game will play on Sundays, but I'd probably say Tua, Jeudy, and then quickly behind him, you work in Joe Burrow, who's had a phenomenal year. You work in Grant Delpit, who's one of the best safeties in the country. Christian Fulton, as you mentioned, at cornerback. And, you just go down the list. It's not going to surprise me a bit if LSU and Alabama combined are pushing double-digit first-rounders. Maybe I don't think they'll get to 10, but they might get close.
Terrell Lewis, Anthony Jennings, and a guy that I contend that will be as important for Alabama as any player not named Tua Tagovailoa, Raekwon Davis. I mean, for Raekwon Davis, this is why you came back for your senior year, right?
It is, and if you're Raekwon Davis, and it's 2 straight years now, you haven't really rung it up in the sack department. The big play production hadn't been there for Raekwon Davis really since 2017, I guess. And so for him, this game is double big because if he's able to make a lot of noise, make some big plays, be disruptive in the backfield and kind of flash in that regard, it's going to go a long way for him just as a single tape. Because of course, over the course of the season, if you're not getting to the quarterback as much as NFL clubs want to see from a first-round pick, but you raided the backfield all night against LSU in a money game like this one, it kind of carries it for you.
9 tackles and a sack for Raekwon Davis in this game 2 years ago. That sophomore year that Raekwon Davis was so good in. 9 tackles and a sack here in Tuscaloosa against LSU in 2017. Followed that up last year with 4 assisted tackles and a half tackle for loss in the Crimson Tide's win down in Baton Rouge. Talking with Chase Goodbread of NFL.com, Crimson Cover Television, and the Talkin Tide podcast on a Thursday edition of Southern Fried Sports, presented by Peterbrook Chocolatier. So you went ahead and said it. In terms of the quarterback comparison and the projection of Tua Tagovailoa and Joe Burrow to the next level, that's been a big topic of debate on your argument shows this week around the different national outlets. You like Tua Tagovailoa still ahead of Joe Burrow when looking ahead to the next level? I
do. I think he's got more of a track record for one thing. He's more mobile. I love his accuracy. I think that what strikes me about Tua that he has that I don't think any other quarterback in the country has like him is that his ability to be accurate when his feet aren't set right. You see a lot of times if he's having a scramble or evade a rush and has to get rid of the ball without squaring his feet up the way he would if it was a clean pocket, the ball's still between the numbers. And for a lot of good quarterbacks, especially at the college level, that's just not the case. And I think at the end of the day, that's going to make him as big a prize as there is in the draft at that position.
It's a good point because it seems like Tua navigates the pocket to get himself in position to still get the football to his playmakers. Whereas when you watch Joe Burrow, and admittedly, I haven't watched as much of Joe Burrow as I had as I have Tua Tagovailoa, Chase, it seems like once Burrow makes that decision that he's moving, he's moving to run at that point. Do you kind of see that?
I do. And I think Burrow's showing a little bit more mobility this year than he did a year ago. He's a different quarterback this year. I was down on him last year. I'm frankly, if you'd have asked me over the summer if I thought Joe Burrow was going to be talked about as a potential first-round pick, I wouldn't have seen it coming. But the year he's had and that position being what it is for the NFL, he's made himself a lot of money in 2019.
Couple of running backs in this game as we wind down with Chase Goodbread of NFL.com, Crimson Cover, and also the Talkin Tide podcast. Couple of running backs in this game, Chase, that are NFL draft eligible as juniors, underclassmen, but juniors that will be draft eligible. Najee Harris for Alabama, Clyde Edwards-Helaire for LSU. These are both yards from scrimmage guys. In other words, they seem to excel in both areas of the position, running it, catching it. Looking at those two right now, who do you project, who do you foresee as maybe the better pro right now, the higher pick of those two?
That's a tough call. I want to say Harris, but it gets so crazy with running backs in the draft and the way sometimes they tend to fall. That could definitely go either way. So I wouldn't stamp Najee Harris with ink or anything as a better pro prospect than Helaire, but I definitely think they're both Sunday players. Helaire especially is he's really given LSU's offense more of a jolt this year, and I think he's helped Joe Burrow. I think one reason Joe Burrow's had a better year than last year is that Edwards-Helaire is a bump up from what they got from Brissett last year.
Yeah.
He can grind, and he can make people miss. He's physical around the goal line. He's tough to bring down. He's got that short center of gravity. He's kind of a bowling ball in there, and no fun to tackle.
Yeah, I think for those two guys, it's been sort of the exact opposites in terms of what the next level probably wanted to see from each of them this year. You said it, Edwards-Helaire, there's no question about his power. That low center of gravity, he's 5'8" or so, kind of brings to mind Mark Ingram a little bit. Probably wanted to see more open field ability, more of his work as a receiver. And then with Najee Harris, he's as instinctful and impactful as a receiver as any back you'll find, but probably want to see more power or wanted to see more power from a 230-pound back. And I think that's maybe been the biggest difference for Najee Harris in this last month or so. He's run more to his size, and with an anger that his teammates have talked about recently than maybe he did in the first couple of games of the season. Chase, so look, you are a veteran of the NFL scouting combine up in Indianapolis. If there was a actual football playing component, say they had a scrimmage at the NFL combine where they could pad them up, put them on the field, and actually play some football, I'm guessing it would look a lot like what we're going to see Saturday afternoon at Bryant-Denny Stadium.
Yeah. And people talk about that 2011 Alabama-LSU game that had such a crazy number of future NFL players rostered for that game. I don't know that 2019 will match that number. That was in the dozens. It was a crazy number, but
just on defense, yeah.
What's that?
Just on defense in that 2011 game.
It was insane. But this game is going to be you'd be hard pressed to find another matchup in the regular season and maybe even the postseason where you'd find more NFL talent on the field at one time. It's going to be, we didn't even hit on a lot of names. The two tackles for Alabama, Leatherwood and Wills, those are Sunday players. LSU's got a couple of hogs up front on their offensive line that'll play in the league. It's just you can go up and down the list. It's going to be an early look at the Sunday game.
Speaking of early, what time are you planning on getting to Bryant-Denny on Saturday?
If I was smart, I'd probably get down there at 10 o'clock or something. It's the warnings that we're seeing coming from UA about getting there early, and not just fan warnings. There's actually a media advisory now out there that the media needs to hustle up and get there early as well. It's going to be insane. And you don't know what to expect because the Secret Service is going to have a hand in this thing. And so from that aspect, people should probably be prepared for just about anything, right?
Yeah, I think stadium is opening at 11:30 for fans in the morning, 3 hours before kickoff, and the media, I believe, will call has been moved up to 10:30. So, yeah, I'll probably see you there at 10:30 then.
There you go. There you go.
All right, Chase.
Hey, does 18 Wheels of Love qualify for the main game? It's got an 8 in there. You know, there's an 8 in there.
Yeah, we could have done that. We could have done that for sure. Yeah, that would make the list. What we've got coming up is we've got 8 Days a Week by the Beatles, and then we're going to have a little 8-6-7-5-309 by Tommy Two-Tone to take you out. So, yeah, but nice. 18 Wheels of Love. I love it. Yeah. Drive-by truckers. There he goes. Chase Goodbread. Hey, man. Thanks a lot.
All right. We'll see you, man.